I have wanted to get Jose Escamilla on the show for so long. He is so busy. He does unbelievable work. He's from Roswell, New Mexico, and he's been living in Southern Cal since 1977. He's been involved in the research and investigation of an aerial phenomena that he discovered in 1994 that are called, or as he calls them, rods. His expertise as a film and video editor for over 30 years has made him a world-renowned figure in the world of UFOs, rods, and that big thing in the sky called the moon, and of course the paranormal. His film UFO, The Greatest Story Ever Denied, has gained international acclaim as the best documentary film ever made on UFOs. Kevin Smith, director of Clerks and Dogma, says UFO is the loose change of UFO documentaries. Michael Luckman, author of Alien Rock, calls it the Fahrenheit 9/11 of UFO documentaries. And his film stylings bring the delivery of UFOs as never seen before. Known for his highly controversial films, Jose has lectured at conferences in the United Kingdom, Mexico, and the United States. He has numerous radio and television appearances, and his name and image has over 1 billion household impressions worldwide. He's an amazing filmmaker, a great guy, and again, a very busy individual. So I am so honored to have him here. Let's get him on the line. Jose, good evening. Welcome to K-Talk and the Fringe Radio Show, my friend.
Hey, it's good to be on, man. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Oh, I know you are extremely busy, and I want to take the time again to thank you for making time for us on your weekend and being here to talk about your work, because I've reached out to you a few times over the years, and I know you're a very, very busy individual, and again, it's an honor to have you here tonight.
Well, it's an honor for me to be on, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much.
If you could give our listeners a little bit of the backstory, Jose, how did you get into the world of ufology? How did you get into this whole thing that you do that is your life now?
Well, you know, I've been seeing UFOs since I was 9 years old. At Midway in Roswell, New Mexico. I grew up in Roswell, and we have a ranch outside of Roswell, 9 miles south, and we used to see things all the time. Our dad used to bring us out and show us, you know, there'd be fireballs flying around near where White Sands missile range is. You could see in those days, this is like in the late 50s, early 60s, you could see White Sands missile range from our vantage point where we lived. So, I mean, UFOs haven't been new to me. It's just that the first UFO encounter that I had that was up close and personal was in 1966. I was in a rock and roll band back then. We had a band called the Jesters, and we were coming, we had just played a prom at one of the local high schools there near Carlsbad, New Mexico, and we were driving in this area on our way to Roswell, and this UFO flew right over us. I mean, we pulled over at the side of the road because we saw in the sky something that looked like a parachute and what appeared to be a small plane veering off to the right. So we kind of pulled over, and there was a semi-truck on the other side of the highway and a station wagon full of people, and we saw this thing that flew right above us, and it flew so low to the ground that I jumped up and tried to touch the bottom of it. That's how low it was.
Wow.
And it was about 30 or 40 feet in diameter. It had light shining around the perimeter of it, and it went down on the other side of this hill. And I remember putting my hands over my ears because we were expecting this thing to crash, you know, to explode. But nothing happened. The next thing I remember is we're 10 miles away, heading back towards Roswell, and we had missing time at that point, you know. And the next day, for the next 3 to 4 days, we were drowsy, sleepy all the time, and we kind of just forgot the event.
Really?
Yeah, and that was the first close encounter that I ever had. And then in 1994, after the Northridge earthquake, my brother and I went to Roswell, New Mexico to see my mom and my sister, and some UFOs appeared at our farm, our ranch. And I went out there with a video camera, and we filmed UFOs for 16 minutes because the battery on the camcorder ran out. And in those days, in 1994, March 5th, 1994 is when this happened, I didn't know how to film for UFOs. I mean, I had no experience in filming UFOs. And it wasn't until I went into the edit bay and started looking at this footage frame by frame that I come to find out these things are super fast. I mean, they appear like in one frame of video.
Right.
And, it took me a long time to edit this one video. But I submitted it to hard copy, and because I had contacts. I'd been working in the film industry as a film and video editor for many years, and I had contacts at hard copy, and I sent them footage, and they came out to Midway, and they interviewed us, and they took footage themselves of UFO activity there at Midway in broad daylight. And that was the start of everything else that came about. At the same time, I discovered a phenomena that I call rods, that these appeared to be like flying snakes. They were super fast, flying in the sky above us. And, this phenomenon has taken off worldwide. I mean, these things are appearing all over the world. And it's a strange phenomena. They have the ability to where they can enter and come out of the oceans at high velocities. We have footage of them in space, shot by the International Space Station. And then now recently we have footage of them on Mars.
Really? Is Curiosity picking these up?
Huh?
Is the Curiosity rover picking these up?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, on Mars, the Curiosity rover took about 5 shots of a rod flying into the Mars surface. And it was a huge rod, man. And you can tell it's a rod because it has the appendages along both sides of the torso, as are familiar to the rods phenomenon. So here we have them on Mars. Here we have them in space about Earth. And then we have them entering and emerging out of the ocean. So it's an incredible phenomenon. And I'm fixing to produce the final movie that I've ever done on rods. It's going to be called They Live in the Skies. And the reason being is because we finally got footage of a rod filmed in high-speed digital video by the Epic Red Cam, using the Epic Red Cam, which is the highest resolution camera in the world.
Right.
Shot at 200 frames per second. We have a rod in super slow motion, and guess what? It appears the way the rods have appeared all along, except that what makes this footage unique is that it was shot at 24p, which is 24 real frames per second. That's as if you were filming with 35 millimeter film at 24 frames per second. This is digital film, and it's non-interlaced. See, a lot of the debunkers and the skeptics say, oh, rods are nothing but a camera artifact caused by the interlacing of video frames. Well, this is footage that is frame by frame of a rod shot in high speed. And guess what, man? We finally have the footage that proves these things are real. They are not insects. They are not misfilmed birds or anything like that. We finally have the footage that proves without a doubt that these things are very real. So I'm making the movie They Live in the Skies, and that's going to be coming out later this year.
Interesting. You know, in your notes to me, Jose, you talked about Wilbur Allen. Wilbur Allen's been on this program many times. I've had him on several times over the years, and I'm sure you're going to agree 1,000%. You know, everybody says, well, you know, there's UFOs. You just catch them every now and then. But as you know, Wilbur and so many of these other guys that are getting into this sky watching, and Wilbur with his equipment, like he says, you've got to shoot hundreds of thousands of frames, and then you've got to dissect it. And when you do that, these things are everywhere. People just don't seem to see them. They we always see the ones that people capture on their phone of some flashing lights and stuff. And of course, at that point, a lot of people tend to question it because they say, well, is it an airplane? Is it a helicopter? Is it a reflection? But as Wilbur said, and again, I'm sure you agree, when you shoot hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of frames worth of video and you spend the time to go through it, that's where it flushes out, and it is there.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, Wilbur has eliminated insects and birds and dragonflies and all that kind of stuff, because he's using uh, some of the cameras that are equal to, if not better than, the ISIS cameras, the International Space Station,
Mm-hmm.
that that NASA uses, and he has some of the most incredible squadron footage of rods. I'm talking about 5 to 10 rods in a sequence flying above Washington D.C. in the no-fly zone, man. I mean, and he's got some of the most incredible footage that he'll tell you it proves rods are real. I mean, it's an amazing phenomenon. He has the camera optics that bring it down to earth to where we can see exactly what's going on. And he's definitely going to be in my film. I mean, he's starring in it, most definitely.
Interesting. These rods, has anybody, have you, and with all your research, have you seen, or has anybody physically seen these things with the naked eye? Have they ever been seen with a human eye?
Oh, yeah, man. I've had many instances where I was like, one of my partners, Saskia Kraft Van Arnold, she was a partner in one of my films. We were having breakfast, and we were walking down the sidewalk. We just had breakfast. It was about 9:30 in the morning, and this rod flew down and flew right next to her. I mean, it must have been a couple of feet away from her, but it was about a 3 or 4 footer, and it flew right by her. I saw it, and she saw it, and she looked at me. She goes, "Did you see that?" I go, "Heck yeah, man." I mean, this rod, man, flew right by us. We've had many occasions where rods have flown right in front of us, or in between me and another person. And, I've experienced rods all the time, man. Once you acknowledge that they exist, you will see them. And it's an amazing thing to behold, man. These things are incredible.
Wow. What do you think they are, Jose? Do you think these things are entities? Do you think they're alive? I mean, what do you think they are?
Well, they exhibit intelligence, definitely. They appear to be a living entity of some kind. They appear to be alive. And, we have footage of them shot in Mexico at the Cave of the Swallows, which is a deep pit located in northern Mexico. It's called Sótano de las Golondrinas, but we have footage of a base jumper that's jumping down, and he's falling at about 90 miles per hour, and a rod flies right towards him and avoids colliding with him. At the last second, man, it just makes a U-turn. So this thing knew that he was there in its way, and it avoided colliding with him. So these things are so super fast, man. It's amazing. But they can be seen with the naked eye. And I'm pretty sure any of your listeners that have ever experienced seeing something in their eye peripheral or in front of their eyes, in front of their faces, a white flash or a dark flash that passed by, and they look and they see nothing wherever it went, that must have been a rod that you saw. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen them. They just never realized what they were seeing.
Interesting. Do you think they're just maybe do you think they're extraterrestrial, paranormal? Well, obviously they are they extraterrestrial, paranormal, or could they maybe be a mixture of both, or maybe the simplest form of something, or maybe even simple forms of energy with intelligence?
Well, it's hard to say where they come from and what they are, but we do have footage of them on Mars, and it was shot by the Mars rover. We don't make this stuff up, and so they do have a life cycle in space. They do exist in space. We have footage of them flying in and out of Earth, man. What more can I say? I can't say that they are of extraterrestrial origin because we haven't proven that, okay? We don't know where they come from, but we do know that they do enter the oceans and come out of the oceans. They enter into Earth and come out of Earth and go into space, and now we have them on Mars. So we just don't know where these things come from, but they are there, and they're very real. So it's anyone's guess, and that's all we can do right now at this moment is guess, because we just don't know where they come from.
Yeah.
We don't know what their purpose is. They seem to have been here for thousands of years because we have rock carvings from 56,000 years ago, Aboriginal rock carvings that show what appear to be stick figures pointing at what appear to be rods in the sky. And these were drawings that were done by Aborigines in cave art thousands of years ago. So, you know, they've been around for a long, long time, longer than we have, and probably will be here longer than we will ever be here, you know?
Exactly.
But they are there.
Has there, you know, in all your travels, Jose, have you ever come across anybody, you know, people talk about, you know, alien abduction and contact. Has anybody ever felt that these things have had sort of a, maybe a connection with anybody? Have you ever encountered anybody that's maybe connected with them, if not physically, maybe mentally, maybe telepathically?
You know, being in the field of investigations that I do, I have met all kinds. And, you know, I've had people saying that they've been told by the CIA that they are a CIA special entity that they've developed to spy on us. I mean, there's people that come up with all sorts of things. Until I get solid evidence that proves it, I cannot say. And this is why, you know, I've kept them out of the alien area, because I don't have proof that proves that they are of alien origin or that they are alien in nature. We don't know what they are. Okay? Right. And this is one of the things, the reason I don't say, well, they're of alien origin, because how can I prove that?
Right.
Number one. And number two, once you put an alien connotation, everybody's going to think you're nuts. Right. That's the way it goes, you know. And I've kept them out of the alien venue because they don't appear to be of alien origin. However, they do have a presence on Mars, which is alien to us. So, you know, there's a lot of people that have told me their experiences. They've told me they communicate with them and this kind of thing. But until I get solid proof, I can't really say
right.
that, you know?
Right. No, I totally agree with you. It's just an anomaly at this point.
Yeah, it's an entity of some kind. It is a living entity from what it appears to be, because the way it reacts towards people, avoiding contact. And, I mean, I've had close flybys. I mean, doggone it, man. These things have flown between me and a friend of mine. We were standing at Midway, and this rod just flew right between us. I mean, you know, it's just amazing. These things are totally amazing, but we just don't know where they come from. All I can tell you is that they are here. And for whatever reason they are here, we have no idea, but they are pervasive enough to where they are here, man. Yeah. There's nothing we can do about it, you know.
When is now you in your notes to me, of course, Wilbur, like you said, he's caught footage of these things flying over Washington. Did he catch has he been catching these for years? You know, again, I've seen some of his footage on his site. It's just amazing what he's picked up. But is this these rods? Is he been catching these for a long time?
Well, he's been catching them as long as he's been filming for UFOs. I mean, he was doing stuff back in 2001. You know, it's just that he was developing his techniques of filming. You know, finding the right cameras to use and this kind of thing. So at the same time that he was out there filming for UFOs and other activity in the skies, he was also learning what cameras to use that will eliminate all the BS that surrounds UFOs, you know. So
sure.
I believe that he's been successfully filming UFOs in Roz for the last 5 years. I believe he's gotten the most of the evidence that I've seen. And it's incredible evidence, man. And he's using the best quality cameras, you know. And he knows his stuff where it comes to cameras, man.
Yeah.
Well, Alan knows his stuff, man.
Yeah, like I said, I've had him on a few times. He's very passionate about his work, and
right.
I think there, as you would agree, there's no other in this field. There's no other way to be because you've got so many debunkers out there. But when you've done the work and you've done the analysis, the facts the facts are the facts.
Yeah, and one thing about Wilbur that I'm proud to say is that the best debunker out there cannot even match wits with Wilbur Allen. Wilbur, tear him a new, you know what, man.
Well, and you too, my friend. I mean, you've been in this game a long, long time. Like you said, you've been around a long time. You're no newcomer at this. You know what it takes, and you're in the industry, so you know the tricks and the hoaxers.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And that's one of the things about me is I present the evidence as it presents itself. I don't need to pull any tricks or anything like that, man. I just show you what's there. It's up to you to decide if you want to research it or not, but this stuff is real, man.
Yeah.
This thing is very real. So,
Let's talk a little bit about the moon. Matter of fact, when I reached out to you several years ago, you were going to come on the program, but I know you were in the midst of filming the moon. And, the moon has kind of become another subject again. I mean, for such a long time, of course, we had the moon, the Apollo missions, and of course, there's a lot of people out there that debunk and say we've never been to the moon. There's been a lot of books written and stuff like that. But you really have a lot of interest in the moon, and it's a pretty close neighbor that you've kept an eye on for a while.
Yeah. Well, what piqued my interest was when I did UFO: The Greatest Story Ever Denied, the first film of the series. I did a segment on the moon because the astronauts. It had been reported that astronauts had seen UFOs on the moon. So I did a segment on moon footage and moon photography, and I came to find out that 98% of the Apollo moon photography has been tampered with. 98% has been tampered with, all right? So either they've eliminated part of the background so that you don't see the buildings and structures that are in the backdrop, or they have erased things like UFOs and things that NASA didn't want you to see. But 98% of the Apollo footage and photography of the moon has been tampered with. And I can guarantee I can show you that. So what I decided to do was make a movie called Moon Rising, which was going to be all about the moon anomalies and the moon tampering that NASA has done. And I'm telling you, man, I found by accident, I was looking for a CGI model of the moon. I have a program called Cinema 4D where I can make if I wanted to animate a raptor, I can use this program to create the animation of a raptor, okay? But I have to have a model of the raptor. So what I did is I had a scene in Moon Rising, which I produced in 2009. I had a scene that I wanted to where we left Earth and we flew right up to the moon and approached the moon and landed about 78 miles above the surface of the moon. This was the shot that I wanted to produce. And in order to do so, I was going to need a 3D model of the moon. Okay? So I contacted people that work at Star Trek and Star Wars, and I go, guys, and Battlestar Galactica, I said, guys, the special effects guys, I said, where do you guys go to get these incredible, realistic planets that you feature in a lot of your episodes on Star Trek and stuff? They go, well, there's a website called MAP, M-A-P, aplanet.org, mapaplanet.org. And your listeners can go there right now if they're on the computer. They can go to mapaplanet.org. This is what I did. And they said, and what's great is that all these maps of the moon that you wrap around a circle or a sphere are free. Well, that's even better. So you go to mapaplanet.org and you click on the grayscale thumbnail of the moon, and it takes you to another landing page. And there you're going to find about 10 or different variations of photography that they've done of the moon. Smack dab in the middle on the top row is the natural color of the moon. And you can see that right now, man. natural color. So what I did in 1994, February 94, I clicked on that, and from that moment on, it forever changed my perception of the moon. Because I found out at that moment that the moon is not black and white, as we've been programmed to think. The moon is made up of full color landscapes. It is a full color celestial body.
Wow.
And NASA has hidden the truth about the moon's true color, the true essence of the moon. It's a full color celestial body. And the reason they've done that is because in color photography, you have depth of perception. Black and white, you don't have so much. But in full color, you can see things that are like clouds, trees, you know, buildings and things. You can see them in full color, whereas in black and white, you don't catch it. And so I did the moon rising film, and I included some of this color photography. And that was it, man. It changed forever my perception. I did a movie after that called Celestial, which shows you a man that's out of Richmond, Texas. Because, you know, here's the thing. When I started promoting that the moon was full color, people kept saying, well, Jose, how come you prove that? Because the moon is gray when we look at it here with a naked eye.
Right.
So I used to go to these conferences, and I used to have to explain why the moon looks gray and black and white. And at times, a lot of the times, people did not believe me. They thought I was full of crap. Well, along comes this gentleman. His name is Bill Bryson. He's a amateur astronomer out of Richmond, Texas. And he contacted me and says, you know what, Jose, you're my hero, man. He says, because of you, I've been able to film and photograph the moon in its full color and splendor. Because if it wouldn't have been for you, Jose, I would not have researched cameras and optics and things. He says, I can now show people with a $68 webcam how to hook it up to any telescope, and they'd be able to film the moon and photograph the moon in full color. All right? So the movie Celestial, which is on my website, tblnfilms.com, it shows you how this man is filming the moon in full color, the way it should have been presented to the American and the world public all these years, man. But they still continue to perpetuate the myth that the moon is black and white, and it's not in color. But it is a full color celestial body, man.
People just need to open their eyes to it and not always take what everybody else says that thinks it's just a pale gray or, like you said, just black and white.
Yeah, well, I opened the film. I showed this Japanese mission that they took, and or maybe it was a Chinese mission, and they after the mission took place to the moon, they did a big tapestry for the press conference. They had the north and the south pole of the moon and a full laid out map of the moon's surface, and the tapestry was in full color. But when they released the same tapestry and everything else, the same photograph and everything else to the public, it was in black and white. Why would they do that?
I don't know. Yeah.
So I'm telling you right now, when you get up to see the stuff on the moon, it's in full color. You can start seeing structures, pyramids, buildings, and all sorts of neat things, man, that exist on the surface of the moon that otherwise in black and white you're not going to catch it.
You know, wasn't it? I believe it was Buzz Aldrin, and he's kind of gone on the record now as saying that while they were up there, they saw craft sitting on top of these mountains with their lights turned on.
Yeah, it was actually Neil Armstrong that said it.
Okay, Armstrong?
Yeah, but he didn't say it to the public. He said it to Chaplion, which is one of the scientists there at NASA, and he repeated it. But Neil Armstrong stayed secret, man. He did not say or get interviewed. He did not mention anything about his experiences on the moon. Buzz Aldrin has been, he's an alcoholic, Poor guy, he probably took up to drinking because he had to lie to the American people. You know,
Right.
they've had to lie. They've had to keep a lot of things in secret about the moon. And why? Because there's things on the moon that the government doesn't want us to know about. However, I'm making movies, and there's other people making movies about the moon, and I'm releasing the stuff, man. I'm releasing the stuff enough. And it's all there.
Well, people need to know. They need to know these things.
Yeah. There's a lot more to the moon than just being a black and white piece of rock that exists among us, you know.
Right.
Full color celestial body.
Have you been, now with the structures in that, I have not had the opportunity, and again, for our listeners, it's tblnfilms.com is where you can find Jose's work.
Yeah.
I have not had the opportunity to look at Celestial, but when you see this, can you actually see with your own eyes? Can you see structures? Can you see different things? Are they?
Yeah, that's why I made that movie.
As plain as day.
And the stuff is there, man. And I'm going to send you, you know, it's available on pay-per-view, okay? But I'm going to send you a free screening so that you can look at it, and then next time we get on the radio show, you can announce that you've seen it and you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm going to send you the link so you can watch it.
Well, thank you. I would love to see that. I've heard so many different experts for so many years talking about structures there, and of course, I shouldn't say the debunkers, but the people that that either want to steer you a different direction. It's just, well, it's a rock formation. It's this, it's that. But I think that a lot of us have seen things that appear to be. I saw one documentary I watched years ago. It appeared like it was some sort of almost like a shopping type mall, like a mall structure with glass ceilings, with glass skylights in it, if you will. There's a lot of that stuff out there.
Oh no, I've got craters that have domes on them, and you can see in one of the craters you can see a tower that has what appears to be the number 2 on it. I'm going to send you the link right now. I'm going to send it to you right now. It's going to blow you away, man.
Yeah, you've got my email. I'll watch it tonight. I'll have to dig into it because I find it fascinating. What do you think, Jose? Do you think that there was another civilization there at one time? Do you think that humans were there at another time? I mean, obviously, some of the photos I've seen and some of the things that you've seen, it appears that, would you say that a lot of these structures have been a long time abandoned? Yeah,
there's definitely somebody there. And there was somebody there. I mean, in Celestial, you're going to see Apollo 16 footage or photography from April 1972 of a crater called Lobachevsky. Okay, it's on the far side of the moon. And for some reason, NASA has been paying close attention to this crater for whatever reason. But on April of 1972, there's a photograph of what appears to be an excavation going on a certain part of the crater. And there's this weird-looking machine that seems to be digging on this portion of the crater. Now, 8 months later, during the Apollo 17 mission, which took place in December of 1972, 8 months later, all of a sudden you have a structure that's 6 miles high and 10 miles wide.
Wow. So there's
6 miles high, 10 miles wide, built in 6 months. I mean, 8 months. Built in 8 months by somebody that's better than Donald Trump. You can imagine all the money in the world that Donald Trump has access to. He could not build anything this large on the surface of any here on Earth, much less the surface of the moon in 1972. So, you're going to see this. It's going to blow you away.
Wow. Unbelievable. And again, so this excavating machine or what have you, this is something that you could see. You could actually see it working. You could see it doing things.
You can see it. You can definitely see it right there, man. And it's and you know, like I always say, I don't make this stuff up, man. You know, this was all shot by NASA.
Unreal.
Apollo 16.
Unreal.
I mean, it's right there for all to see.
What do you think about Mars, Jose? I mean, you know, these rovers are sending pictures back as clear as can be. Again, some people are saying that they're, some people claim that they're, you know, that they're shadows or they're, you know, but it appears that there's machinery there. Old machinery that might have rusted away for a long time. What do you think about that?
Oh man, I got better stuff, man. I'm gonna also send you the link to my latest movie, UFOs from Outer Space. Gosh, you're gonna flip out, man, when you see this stuff. Maybe. Anyway, I'm gonna send that to you in a little bit. But okay. Yeah, I'm gonna send you Celestial and UFOs from Outer Space. And in UFOs from Outer Space, I show you photography taken by the Mars rover, the Curiosity rover, of pyramids. There's photography of what appears to be a handgun laying in the ground there. Mm-hmm. There's little people, 8 inches tall. There's a civilization of little people. I've got the photography taken by the Mars Curiosity rover, man. I'm sending that to you right now.
Okay.
So next time we do, as a matter of fact, if you want to do a follow-up radio show after you see this stuff, let's do it. That way, audience can find out that you did see the stuff, you did view it, and now we're going to talk about it.
I know of your work without a doubt. I know the kind of quality work and your you know, your history and everything that you do is world class, first class stuff. But yeah, it is interesting to look through it. With your movie UFO, The Greatest Story Ever Denied, I saw bits and pieces of that. Again, so many people nowadays that you know, they have a hard time believing, Jose. But again, you've kind of put it out there for people to see. I mean, the stuff is in plain daylight.
Yeah, and you know what I've done is I've gathered the documentation of stuff that is there for JQ public to witness themselves. I mean, everybody has access to this stuff. It's just they don't know where to look.
Right.
So what I've done is I've taken all the information and I've combined it and put it together in a form that everyone can see it and understand it and look at it. Without me, I didn't tamper any of the images. This is all stuff that was shot by NASA, by our government. It was all done right there in front of you, man. I mean, that's what I present. I present everything that's being presented to you in the first place. It's just that I show you the perspective that they took away from you. And the number one perspective is the full color photography of the moon. They have denied that American people that, and the world public, they've denied that. I mean, the Japanese, the Chinese, the India people, all the people that are part of the space programs, they have contributed to the perpetuity of hiding that the moon is a full-color celestial body. They do it. I mean, what are they gaining out of it, and why are they doing it? I'm showing you how they're doing it to you. So, you know, they're screwing with people, man.
Are you, you know, with your with all your films, do you attend a lot of the conferences, Jose? Do you get an opportunity to get out and meet with the general public and interact with them?
You know, I never get invited to present or appear at any of these conferences. For whatever reason, the promoters never invite me. Okay. So I don't know if it's because they think I'm a bad guy or something, but for whatever reason, they refuse to invite me to present at all these conferences.
Right. Because, I mean, most of the conferences, most people sit up there and talk about their experiences, and maybe talk about a book. But again, with your work, there's just so much there. I mean, it's right there in black and white, if you will. It's right there in color. It's right in front of them.
I present the stuff, man, and I don't know why. I've never found out why I don't get invited to present. I mean, I'm one of the figures in the ufology. I mean, I've been investigating UFOs for 22 years now, and I've been making movies about them and presentations of what my findings have been. Yet it doesn't seem that people think that I'm interesting enough to where they want to invite me to present.
Well, it's their loss, my friend, without a doubt. I mean, you've got 30 years of expertise in this film. I don't know. Maybe some of them feel that if they see the real thing, they'll lose a little bit of credibility. Sad to say.
Well, I'll tell you what. This movie, UFOs from Outer Space, proves without a doubt that NASA has known about UFOs since the 1950s. They had the program back then, the test pilots of the X-15 test flights. This was before Apollo, man. This is like, the Chuck Yeager days, man. These were the original test pilots. And part of their missions were to film and photograph UFOs. Yet that has never surfaced. It has never been told to the American public. Yet I've got the evidence in my film, UFOs from Outer Space, which you're going to see. It shows you the photographs that they took, man. And one of the guys, White, he says, yeah, man, part of our mission was not only to test fly the X-15, but also to photograph and film UFOs. That was part of our missions. But that has never been announced, has it?
Never.
Yeah. And UFOs from Outer Space is a film totally about photography and footage taken by NASA of UFOs since the 1950s. All this stuff, like I said, I don't make this stuff up. This is all photography and films shot by NASA. No one else. There's not one film presentation in this film that shows anything shot from Earth, UFO videographer or anything like this. This is all stuff shot by NASA.
Right.
And it proves. I mean, Hillary Clinton says, I want to prove that UFOs you want the proof, babe, here it is. Watch this movie. This is the evidence that you've been looking for. I mean, really.
Right.
So, I mean, everyone that's seen this movie, they go, man, we don't understand why you're not at these conferences showing this stuff, man. People need to see this. I go, well, I don't understand it either. I've sent it to Stephen Bassett. He wants disclosure. This film, and you're going to watch it, this film, UFOs from Outer Space, is the matter of disclosure. This is the full-on disclosure, man. You present this to NASA and say, what's up with this?
Right. Exactly.
This is the disclosure that they've been harping about, but they don't invite me anywhere, man.
And like you said, you've got it all on film. It's right there.
Yeah. I've got the evidence right here for you to use. I mean, Stephen Bassett could use this film, UFOs from Outer Space, and prove that NASA has been hiding the truth, man. Because they admit it on their... I mean, this is all admitted by NASA and NASA's test pilots, man, of X-15. That's the 1950s, man.
Right.
My gosh, what can I say? What can I do?
I know. Well, I'll tell you what, Jose, if it's okay, I know you're not feeling the best tonight. I'd like to wrap up. I'd like to have an opportunity to look some of this over. I know you got a sore throat, got a cold coming on.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a look at this and schedule something maybe a month or two out. And I want to tell all my listeners, again, tblnfilms.com. People need to take a look at it. Go to the site. I've been following you for years. And again, it's an honor to talk with you. I'd like to look at these, look it over, and then get back together again and talk more in depth about some of this stuff. And I encourage the listeners to do the same thing because, again, your work and your ethics are world class and A+ in my book, and people need to see this stuff.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'll wait for the link from you. When you get a chance, send it to me. I'll take a look at it. I want to go through it, and it's like reading a book. I like to read it before I have the guest, and I want to have an opportunity to look at it, and I hope you get feeling better, and I promise you, let's get you back on in the next 8 weeks or so if you have a little time.
Do that, because it's important that people see this for what it's worth. And also, maybe I might make a special to where people can see the film. Well, I don't know. I get a lot of piracy going on with all my movies.
Sure.
It's just this is the way I make my living, man. But
understand.
I'll send these to you so you can view it, and then we can comment on the stuff. Okay.
Okay. Well, you get feeling better. Take care of yourself. I know how it feels when you start to get a sore throat and a cold. Get some rest. And again, thank you for spending time for an hour. I will stay in touch. Let's get you back on in a month or two.
All right, man. Thank you so much. God bless you, man.
God bless you, man.
I couldn't talk, man, but my voice is leaving.
Understand. Take care. Be blessed and get feeling well.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Good night. Bye-bye.